Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. We got DanK, your host, and my cohort next to me. We got Mike. Mike's out of Washington and resident of both Washington and Oregon, I guess.
Resident of Interstate 5 a lot.
There you go. Yeah, up down the big road, as we called it when we were
back in the day before drug testing and we drove trucks.
Yeah. Back when we could drive trucks legally. We have all kinds of experience, but we're not allowed to drive now.
That's okay.
Every time I hear a wreck, I always wonder how much experience that guy has.
He's drug-free.
Yeah, but he's drug-free, yeah. So anyway, we want to talk about the symposium that we both attended. It was at the University of Oregon last Friday, coincidentally on April 19th, the day before 420. Quite a surprise. I didn't know about it until just a few days prior. An excellent Judge James Gray was there, a big name in the movement.
He's a big libertarian out of California, been a judge, been a prosecutor, seen the damage of the war on drugs. So it was good to hear at least the admission of a lot of people who've been trying to put us in jail say that, maybe we erred a little bit here, we need to rethink this. The only thing that I thought was lacking in there, I didn't hear much for the adult responsible use. They still tried to talk that, using cannabis is symptom of a sickness, or a sickness in of itself. So it's still better than what I would have thought from this crowd anyway. So it's a start, at least.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, at least it was put on at the law school, a whole day conference, very well organized. The food was great, but there were a lot of big names there, and a lot of old friends, and met some new friends, and people from all over the United States that came to this. It was quite a turnout, so the more we talk, the better it is, I think, and people beginning to realize more and more that the drug war is a failure, and we've got some stories on that too tonight. I just wish I'd had more time to get more people to this thing, which it's kind of sprung up on me anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but.
Well, plus they were charging for it too. I mean, you had to spend $20 to be privileged to listen to their insight and wisdom as we move forward. So it's at least a beginning, but there's still, like, legalization has got us in the door, and now we need to walk through it. So we need to make sure these guys don't try to, hem us into a corner, because there's a lot going on, and all of it's happening below most media radar. So use your smarts, go online, educate yourself.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a lot of these paying things, that's another advantage of working or becoming a part of the Eugene Cannabis TV staff. You get a media pass, and that media pass got me in.
Yeah, got me in too. I didn't pay him a dime, but I missed a lot of it. So,
yeah, Mike was late, but yeah, but I wasn't too sure if they were going to let me in or not with a pass. I thought I'd give it a try, and boom, no problem. So I made it kind of nice, but anyway, it surely did cost a pretty penny to put that thing on. That's for sure.
I'm glad they paid for it.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got that covered, and then and then we want to talk about. Well, go ahead.
Well, I just want to bring a little bit to the show about what's happening up in Washington. As you know, it's legal up there, or technically the use is exempt as long as you buy cannabis from a Washington state liquor store. So technically it's not legal, which we heard about back in the day. But anyways, two things have come up. One being that the people in Olympia there in the legislature are afraid that the recreational is going to compete with the medical. And the problem that they have right now is that there's nothing regulated. It's just the Wild West. It occurs. So there's two Senate bills that are trying to integrate the medical marijuana into the provisions of I-502, which was the New Approach Washington legalization bill. Because what they want to do is they want to get money from it. Because one of the things going on right now, I think they realize that most dispensaries up there sell for $10 a gram. The way they want to tax this, the way this thing is set up, there's no way they can compete against the dispensaries. Because when you tax at these three levels, grower, producers, and retailers, 25% each step, you're not going to be selling $10 grams. You know, and if you look at what put the liquor board into existence, two of their mandates is to restrict access and drive the cost up. So the legislature is fighting about it. We have new allies and new distractor right now. There's a few people up there. Senator Ann Rivers is one, saying that approximately 90% of those that have a medical reclamation card in Washington are faking. So there's no registry in Washington. Is the only state that I'm aware of that doesn't have a registry for medical patients. And so there's one bill that's going to try to integrate it and have their reports ready by the end of the year. Another wants to sit there, and this is really kind of interesting. Senate Bill 5887. And this right here would be, what it's set out to do is to take care of the medical marijuana business. But what it's going to end up doing, what they want to do is they want to register everybody who is growing medical cannabis, who is using medical cannabis, who is a provider. They want your name. So this is dividing the community up there once again, which is really too bad, because you can look at all this legislation and they don't talk about patients' rights. They don't talk about let's have the medical work for the patients. They're talking about let's have the medical work for our tax coffers, and we'll worry about how the patients are doing later. So it's not going to get any better unless we demand that they, listen to the patients. So there's a lot going on up there. Mm-hmm. And another little bit, they shut down one of the bigger groups up there. They disallowed all the recommendations by the 4 Evergreen group, which, since there's not a register, they don't really know. But suddenly there's probably a few thousand people in Washington that do not have their authorizations anymore, because both these doctors have been delicensed. And that's their words, not mine.
Oh boy.
So once again, the patients are getting thrown under the bus because the revenue has got everybody excited. So
yeah, and see, it'll be interesting to see how things are going. Washington and Colorado have two completely different systems.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Curious to see how they both fare over time. And unfortunately, the time that other people are going to jail, even still going to jail over it, and whether.
Well, and sadly, we don't even hear that. But just to be sure, the Washington law does not technically legalize cannabis. It exempts the use when you operate under their guidelines, which means when you buy weed from the liquor store.
And that's the only way you can legally buy it.
Well, you can't even do that probably now.
Well,
they've delayed everything, even setting licensing until the end of this year. The people that have been hired to take care of this and get it up and running are saying we won't have anything really until the middle of 2014. Mm-hmm. So if you want to buy something from a store, it's going to be over a year from now. So that doesn't look like it's going to change.
Yeah, that's right. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, so, hold on, and
we'll see what's happening.
Make your voices heard. Always make your voice heard.
Okay. May 4th, Saturday, Saturday, May 4th is the Global Cannabis March here in Eugene, high noon at the Freedom Plaza, 8th and Oak. It's also happening in Portland and Medford the same day. We're going to wrap up and on to our next segment. Thanks for coming in, Mike, and appreciate your info, and stay tuned for Washington News from Mike. We're out of here.
Bye.
Welcome. You made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV, the second segment. Here we are, the 22nd of April, and we're looking backwards on the 420 event. The 420 celebration, the Bull Ranch, Will and I attended. I think it was very well attended. It's great music and some old friends and a lot of new ones, and it went well.
Well, we got to do our cosmic moment of claiming our birthright back, which is the ability to be responsible for ourselves without having to cajole the federal government, would I say, if I'm going to be real nice, because I am pissed, I'll tell you. I'm glad that these House members filed this bipartisan Respect States Marijuana Laws Act, because that's the same thing I'm talking about when we talk about 420. So many people do it as a party, and understand. I've had a friend of mine who was at the party who said that there was a brother who commented, "I drink to get drunk and I smoke to get stoned." And that was his whole piece on this. And for me, my thing is that I smoke as a medicine, spiritual and physical, and that we both have the right to do it whatever way we want. Now, he's talking about recreationally, and I'm talking about spiritually and medically. Yet, according to the federal government, we don't have a right to do any of it. So these House members put together this Respect States Marijuana Laws Act, and it says a bipartisan group of House members have introduced a bill that would exempt states that have passed medical marijuana or marijuana legalization law from federal marijuana law enforcement. Thank you. I don't know who did this, but I'm going to find out because I want to support it. I think it's great.
Definitely, it gives us some hope, and it's interesting. In the past years I've been an activist, it always seemed the majority of the politicians didn't want to talk about marijuana.
Well,
we used to call marijuana the third rail of politics. They're afraid to talk about it, that it'll kill them as a politician.
They can't talk about it. It has nothing to do with whether or not they make it as a politician. If they start talking about it, then people will know the truth, that there is no foundation for what the federal government has done to these people this whole time. This has been a declared act of war against the people of the United States, and I do not understand why Amnesty International or any other organization that's international is not supporting us and having our rights to have internment instead of being put in jail, and the fact that it's political and that therefore we should be able to claim the same rights that anybody else does according to the Geneva Convention that's had war declared on them. Now, we didn't ask the government to do this. They did it on their own. They declared war against us having to do with drugs. Now, I'm tired of it. I am a vet. I am somebody who has fought for people's rights in other countries. And yet, we don't have our basic freedoms here. People go, oh, well, they didn't come and bust your party, did they? So you're like, I'm not talking about luck. I'm talking about being able to feel freely how I want to feel when I introduce a product into my body to help me feel better. I'm 65 years old. I've been smoking for 35 years. I don't have any of these problems that so many people have with cancer and all the rest of this stuff that's going on in their lives. Believe me, though, I do have PTSD. And that for myself, if I have not been smoking for 35 years, I would not be here today, because I would not have put up with this crap. I do not understand why the veterans out there put up with this. I mean, we've been threatened with losing the prescription medication that we can use intelligently instead of having to just, oh man, I'm feeling a little pain. Oh, take another pill, take another pill. Yeah, okay. Instead of just being able to smoke something, excuse me. You know, that's my right. That's my God-given right, and it's my right as an American, and I am sick and tired of this crap with the federal government who, you know, according to these people here and according to myself, the Attorney General of each state is supposed to interpret the law for that state. And the people of this state have said, get the people their medicine. And yet the state is doing absolutely nothing to get us our medicine. Giving us a card, making us pay out the ass for it, taking away, you know, people who you say they don't have legitimate reasons in the state of Washington. How in the hell do you know? Did you go through all these people and have them come through your door and have them tell you about their complaints and stuff? No, you're just sitting there going, well, we can punish these two doctors and then maybe the rest of the doctors are all falling in line. I'm sorry, man, it just makes no sense to me. And the fact that the people out there, once again, who are straight, are the people who can't figure it out, that our rights have been taken from us. We're being discriminated against on a daily basis. Your taxes, which you don't want another one of, this $10 per household and $30 per business, what a joke. We're telling you that we have no problem being taxed as long as it's legitimate and not something totally outrageous. And yet you totally ignore us and want to push this tax down your throat, talking about how, oh, well, we can lock up the violent offenders. Well, if you'd leave the potheads alone, you'd have plenty of room in jail and you wouldn't have to go through that process. How many times have I had to tell you that? Of course, you don't watch this show, and of course, we can't get on regular TV. I mean, I'm not Jim Gregg, and I'm not going to be somebody who's going, oh, I'm so thankful because I have medical, and therefore, geez, I'll say whatever you want. You know, or Cheryl, or whatever her name is, from the Compassion Center, who's going, oh, gee, children shouldn't smoke pot. Duh. Right, you know, if you really believe that, then this child who has epilepsy and is on the brink of dying Yeah, let him die because he's going to do the prescription drugs and they're not going to do him any good. So, I mean, you folks are the ones who've dug your own grave. You sit here and you create all this money for cancer research and you keep looking in the wrong spot. That's fine, man. That makes absolutely as much sense as the government, the federal government controlling us about pot. You know, it's ridiculous. We've had pot legal in this state industrially for, what, 4 or 5 years now? Mm-hmm. Is there an industrial plant being grown anywhere in the state?
No, not yet.
Nope,
waiting for the feds to act.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the feds to get out of our state and leave us alone.
That's right. So real quick, here's some of the headlines that are just California Lieutenant Governor Newsom calls for legalizing marijuana. In what could be the opening shot of the 2014 California gubernatorial race, Lieutenant Gavin Newsom came out strong for marijuana legalization and against the war on drugs Saturday, so on 420. So things like that give a little bit of hope. And speaking of 420, real quick, right back to the 420 celebration, forgot to mention it, met another DanK. So I've got a picture there of another DanK. So two DanKs.
The one thing I want to say about 420 is I'm sorry about the people in Denver who had to deal with this nutcase who's out there with a gun. I don't know what happened there, but
that was I was just told that it was an area next to it, not related to the cannabis event. So we're going to wrap this up, and we've got another segment. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. We're here, Joe and Joe, here to talk about the PTSD. Senate Bill 281 was passed in the Senate, and it's here to go through to the House. And it passed 19-11. Here, Joe's here to talk about how he deals with his PTSD on a daily basis and how cannabis can help him and how it should be passed with without any opposing votes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've used pot for quite a few years in dealing with my PTSD. I'm finally starting to deal with it in a real positive way. I've been asking for help, I've been asking for counseling, and they've been stringing me along saying they not understand what was wrong with me or nothing. Well, now this guy, and I want to read some of the things he wrote, my mental health professional. Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read some of it. Here's a letter you requested outlining our work together at Direction Service Counseling Center. Since our initial meeting on January 11, 2013, we have been focused on your stated goal of wanting to change my outlook on things, in the hopes that it would improve your mental and emotional functioning. The symptoms you reported, such as persistent sadness, irritability, inability to relax, nightmares, insomnia, and re-experiencing the traumatic events from your past, have resulted in you being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and dystemic disorder. In addition, the brain injury that you report acquiring when you were struck by an automobile in August 1974 and the physical and emotional difficulties resulting from that injury are consistent with your reports of ongoing chronic pain and reduced impulse control. You have repeatedly stated, and I have, that the emotional problem which has been most troubling has been the difficulty you have controlling your temper and the frequency with which you go, quote, postal in my mind. Okay.
Does the cannabis help with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Plus, in the next year, I'm going to be using numerous cognitive behavioral strategies and meditations to avoid triggers such as memories from the work at the post office, which has always resulted in rapid, difficult to control escalations of my fear and anger. Yeah. So it's basically, I use pot to help soothe my triggers, my pot helps me big time with my flashbacks and traumatic.
Right. And that, and that is exactly how it works. Is it helps the person, the patient, be able to cope with what's happened to them, whether that be just thinking about it to themselves or just talking with a friend, being able to open up comfortably with a friend or to a new person to
I'll tell you,
actually let that out.
Years ago, I never thought this would have been possible for someone to think the thoughts I think now, the way things have unfolded for me.
And
it's like post-traumatic stress disorder. It's so real, and
there's thousands of people that suffer from it, and the vets that fight for our freedom. And
I was never in the military, but it doesn't matter. You can
exactly, and that's a big point. That
the thing
this is why
it's different for everybody.
Able to have access. That's why everybody with PTSD should have access to it.
Absolutely, and it should be free. And I'm going to court on May 9th at 9 o'clock at the courthouse on 11th in Lincoln. I hope you show up there, but you can damn well bet that I'm going to try to get in there and make a big stink about it. Because anybody suffering from the stuff I'm suffering from, post-traumatic stress disorder and systemic disorder, should be given medicine freely. I have a good health insurance plan, Oregon Health Plus, Trillium. I mean, I'm cool on that. I have no problems getting the best care, and well, maybe not the best, but really quality stuff. So you keeping my medicine away from me. The tide is turning. Okay, we just need a little more impetus to get over it, and we're going to get over it. I'm a PTSD patient. My name is Joe Canfield, and I want my medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. That was awesome talking with you about the PTSD. Yeah. And we definitely need to get this heard at the House. And, I don't see why it shouldn't be passed and why the patients of Oregon should get their help and help freely. And it should definitely help these people, and thank you for tuning into this segment, and we'll see you next time.
Seconds, okay, and now we have got Earth Day, by the way. Right now for us, I don't know when it'll be for you, but this is the 22nd, and this is the 43rd Earth Day. What started off in 1970 was a movement by the people that was the largest movement in the history of the human experience. There were more people gathered all over this country for Earth Day on its beginning day than the civil rights marches, all of them combined, all the Vietnam marching. Earth Day was it. Now it's been taken over by the equivalent of what we started off with in this country, the tyranny of the government that's over us. And now that tyranny is still going on for 76 years. This makes marijuana prohibition. And I've got the spirit of '76 right behind me here. My 13-colony hemp flag. My shirt here, 100% hemp. This is the greatest product, the greatest plant, annual plant that God ever presented to mankind. And you look at every dollar bill, or every piece of money we got, it says, "In God we trust." Well, we've got a government that 76 years ago made marijuana illegal by calling it marijuana instead of hemp, and they're continuing it to this day, of course, and we have got to rebel. We've got to revolt. Any huge change in government or things that are happening in society, like the civil rights movement, like the Earth Day movement, it requires us to become active. Taking it to the streets is what we need to do. I know that's tough nowadays because they've taken every one of our liberties away that are the most valuable. For example, marijuana. Is it any doubt that this is a substance that leads to our happiness? Using our liberty, which is our Creator-granted birthright, inalienable to us, liberty, the freedom of choice in our pursuit of happiness. So I'm addressing every facet in over the past 10 years to bring the prohibition wall down and get every facet, every nail pounded into the prohibition coffin. I have the spirit of '76 in me, and prohibition has no part in it. Abraham Lincoln put it best, I believe. He said, ma'am, you know, during the Lincoln-Douglas debates, these ladies were asking him about prohibiting alcohol, making it illegal. And Abe says, ladies, you know, to legislate a man's appetite, a man, because we were the only ones that had rights back then, to legislate a man's appetite goes beyond the bounds of reason and makes crimes out of things that aren't crimes. Smoking marijuana, for example, transferring marijuana, the whole gig. Makes crimes out of things that aren't crimes and strikes a blow against the very principles upon which this country was founded on. I declared this country and the American experiment over in 2001 on our 225th anniversary, when the Bush regime of dictators scammed their way into the office over. And it was in D.C. that this epiphany came to me. I was going there to the Normal Conference on 420, and the connection between 420 and our 225th anniversary, it struck me in D.C. And this happened to me on 420 in 2004 when I met Andrea and Carl Sagan's widow there. That's why, one of the reasons I was going there. And I did meet Ann. And anyway, 420 played out like this. And I was thinking of our 225th anniversary. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times the 5 is 20. So that's when our American experiment ended, and 6 seconds, okay. And now we have got